Streaming live. Why does everyone think I've got a fat bank account? I'm happy. I'm very happy. That's only on the surface. Two cameras. 7 o'clock Sunday morning. Shit.
Did you get on
Guy. Same guy.
Yeah.
Still on a bike?
No. Yeah, that's you back up SEO because it's always good to stick to one more. What's this background noise over here? Oishi is now recording what happened 20 seconds, a minute ago. What's happening?
Go plays it on YouTube.
Good evening. We've got a couple of short dafim, so tomorrow will be quite good. But we're going to be out of here too fast. Your wives want to know why you've come home so quick. What? Stay in chat. Yeah. Right, we're up to Lamed Beis, Omar. Lamed Beis, Amud Beis. Almost at the bottom, 7 lines at the bottom. You always like to know I'm going to get to by Sunday. I'll be on Lamed Hey, 7 lines from the top. Okay. Tomorrow, after 8 o'clock is a short daf. It's today the short daf again. Okay, let's just very briefly. Yeah, from the top, 7 or 8 lines. You'll see it. Right, very briefly. When you make an Eruv, it has to be kosher only ben hashmoshes. If the Eruv gets eaten, somebody said to me correctly yesterday, if the Eruv gets eaten a minute after ben hashmoshes, there's no problem. A minute before, you've lost the Eruv. That's one principle we spoke about yesterday. Another principle is no. No. As far as it's not like that. No. I think so. Okay. Well, it comes to it. The more does discuss it, but right. Another principle is like this: that you have to access the Eruv, right? We had the Machlokes, Rebbe and the Chacham, which is more elaborates more later, is if you can access it, but the only way to access it is being by over an Issa D'Rabbanan, right? What's a good example? What's a good example? You can only access the Eruv if it's on the Issa, which is Issa D'Rabbanan. We discussed it yesterday. Oh, on a tree. You put a loaf of bread on a tree. The only way to get it is to take it off the tree, which you're not allowed to. The Chachamim say you've got no Eruv, you can't access it. Rebbe says you can. Why can you? Why? What's the heter? Oh, very good. Because ben hashmoshes, when the Eruv is chal, at that time you're allowed to do a Isur D'Rabbanan. So Safek D'Rabbanan the kula by ben hashmoshes. So if we're going to Rebbe, it's okay. We said yesterday even a double D'Rabbanan, for example, it is on a tree plus it's in a carmelis. That's also okay. Right. Then we discussed that there has to be somewhere where it's not going to be an Issa D'Oraisa. So the Mishnah describes something which is higher than 10 Tvachim is no good. It's talking about where you're trying to be Koina Shvisa in a Rishus Rabbim, and the Eruv is in a Rishus Yochid, and that's why you can't be Koina Shvisa. Says the Gemara case, Amar Rabba. Lo Yishanu, 8 lines from the bottom. Lo Yishanu lebe'ilan oimed chutz li'ibur shaleh, only by a tree which is sitting outside the outskirts of the city. Within the outskirts of the city, Rava comes with a very big chiddush, and that is like this: we look at a town as if it's enclosed, all the way up to the height of its walls. So let's say this would be a town, and the walls would be what we've got in this room. So then, what happens is, even if the Eruv is higher than 10 tvachim and in a tree, it is okay. Why is it okay? Because we consider the whole city to be full as if it's all your private domain. Even if it's a Rishus Rabbim, because you can have a Rishus Rabbim inside the city. But it's considered as if it's full. So therefore, your domain is not necessarily on the bottom, it's everywhere within the confines of the city. So if you're kind of Shvisa, if the tree is within the confines of the city, even if the Eruv is higher than 10 Tvachim, you're okay. Rashi and others explain it was like this. Let's say you're living in two tiny villages. So you want to go 4,000 amas. So you got one village here and one village 2,000 amas away. And there's a tree in that village, because otherwise it's within the confines of the city. Why are you putting an Eruv there? You're anyway allowed to walk 2,000 amas from your city. The answer is it's within the confines of a city, which is not your city, right? You put it in the confines of the city of Leeds, and you're 2,000 amas away from Leeds. So that's what it's okay. We should always say this principle. Why? Rava was describing a more complicated case, but what happened was, mentioned this very briefly yesterday, that if you were trying to, you put your Eruv of 2,000 amas away, an hour before Shabbos, came along a big wind and blew it 2 amas. Now it is 2,002 amas away from where you're allowed to walk. Would you say that you're allowed to use this Eruv or not? When you put it 2,000, before Shabbos came, before when Hashmosh, the wind blew it 2 amas. So Levi is saying you're not allowed to walk. Rava comes along and argues with Levi. Not everybody agrees.
Depends if you know about it.
No, even if you know, it doesn't help you, because 2,000 amas away.
You say that each person's got 4 amas.
Oh, so he says like this interesting swap. Imagine you were to build a house at the very edge of your 2,000 amas, right? And then you put the Eruv within the house 2,002 amas away. Everybody would agree it's okay. Why? Because the house is before 2,000 amas, so you're allowed to go into the house. Once you're in the house, you're allowed to go anywhere within the house. And now you can put the Eruv 2 amas further. So if you actually built a house at the very edge of your 2,000 amas, everybody would agree it's okay. Came along Rava and says that since every person, as Shai said, has got 4 amas, so therefore we look at it as if your area of the end of the 2,000 amas is yours, and therefore your 4 amas circumference of it, it's actually 8 amas, by the way. It's got 4 amas in each direction. So therefore what happens is, you can stand at the edge of 2,000 amas. If it rolls 2 amas, you're okay. If it rolls 5 amas, you'll be in a problem. But 2 amas, you'll be okay. Comes on the Gemara and says, according to that logic, it's Rishus HaYochid. It's as if you've got a house there. A house is Oilal Derokia. So what do we care that the food is higher than 10 tefachim, since the tree is where you are going to shvisa, became like your personal Rishus HaYochid. A personal Rishus HaYochid is Oilal Derokia. If it's Oilal Derokia, so therefore it doesn't matter if it's more than 10 tefachim high, and therefore even if it's more than 10 tefachim high, it should be a good deal. And if that's the case, we come back to the original question which we had in our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says that if it was higher than 10 tefachim, it's no good. Lower than 10 tefachim, it is good. And now we don't understand, because it should always be okay. Says the Gemara, we're talking about a tree where the branches stretch out more than 4 amas. More than 4 amas. Your intention was to spend Shabbos, you decided to spend the Shabbos at the trunk, and the branches stretch more than 4 amas. The Gemara over here is bothered because we're talking about a branch that goes normally. Here, actually, I've got a picture. Actually, I should put the picture. Is the picture book inside over here? Have you got it? Okay, it's better. There's simple pictures. There are 2 kinds of branches. There are branches that are staggered, right, like this. Such a branch, if it's higher than 10 tefachim, will always be higher than 10 tefachim. If it's lower than 10 tefachim, it's always lower than 10 tefachim. The Gemara explains, we say the mal or the matter, we mean that the same branch, it stretches upwards. It goes up as a V shape. It doesn't go as a line, horizontal, it goes vertical, but on a slant. So therefore like this. Let's explain what we're talking about. We're talking about where you decide to become a shvisa at the tree, at the point of the tree. It's like a kedai to get the pictures, because there's a few pictures. No, there's actually some more pictures Shaskar don't have. No, that's not a good picture, because I should have got it. It's over there. I've seen it on the shelf. I've got it back in my Gemara. Should we swap Gemaras and then you can use mine? You found one? Oh, thank you very much. Oh. Right. So tell you, wait a second. That's it. There's actually quite a lot of pictures here. Depends how much we manage to do. So, right. So if you're interested, we do a picture of Shiur Ches. That was the picture of Rava, where Rava says if you put an Eruv, you get 4 amas in all directions, and that is why, even if it's 2002, it's okay. So here you got a picture of Reish Yutes and Reish Chof. Oh. So the Gemara says like this: you are planning to spend the Shabbos at the tree base, at the tree trunk, and then you put the Eruv on the branch. It's actually, you have to look very carefully. Look at a picture of Reish Chof, right? So you've got one branch going out, and you can see two loaves of bread. The loaves of bread are white; they're very small. Can you see them on the right-hand side? Reish Chof. The breads are on the right. So now, the Gemara says like this. Right. So the Gemara says like this. Watch the interesting. The fact that the branch stretches more than 4 amos doesn't disturb us. The problem is the branch goes higher than 10 tefachim. Once it's higher than 10 tefachim, and we're talking about a branch where it's 4 tefachim thick and 10 tefachim high, so it becomes Rosh Hashanah. And you're planning to spend the Shabbos on the base. Now, Rava said you get 4 amos in all directions, but here it doesn't help you 4 amos in all directions because the branch is more than 4 amos long. So therefore, the bread is out of your jurisdiction of the 4 amos, plus it's higher than 10 tefachim. So therefore, it doesn't help you that within your 4 amos, and you've got it higher than 10 tefachim, it's Rosh Hashanah. And what you're going to do is you're going to want to try and bring it on Shabbos to your place where you decided to put your Eruv. It's no good, which is interesting. Had you decided, for example, that you're going to spend the Shabbos on the branch, then you'd be okay, by the way. This is a very big chiddush, took me time to digest this. Had you spent time thinking on Shabbos, I'm going to spend my Shabbos on that branch, that's fine. Because we're going b'shittas, Rabbi Meir says the same thing. That what? That you're allowed to be over Issa D'Rabbanan Ben Hashmoshes. So there's no problem climbing a tree Ben Hashmoshes. So had you decided to spend the Shabbos on the branch, you'd be fine. The problem is that wasn't your decision. Your decision was to spend it at the base. Now, to get the loaf of bread, which is higher than 10 tefachim, and more than 4 amos away, to your jurisdiction would be over Issa D'Oraisa B'Shach Nishus Rabim. If it's lower than 10 tefachim, fake to Rashi, if it's lower than 10 tefachim, it's still a problem because it's more than 4 amos away if you look at the picture. Says Rashi, that's not a problem because you can still move it with doing only Yisur D'Rabbanan. How can you do it by only being over Yisur D'Rabbanan? How is that possible? No, you have to get it to where you decided to spend the Shabbos. What? You walk less than 4 hours, stop, and walk less than 4 hours. So therefore, you'll only be over Yisur D'Rabbanan. So therefore, that's where it's okay. The Gemara, if you climb over the branch is considered a karmelis. Most branches are considered a karmelis. Why? Because they're not possible, not Rishus Rabim, because not a lot of people can walk on it. It's not Rishus Yachid because it's lower than 10 tefachim. So therefore, you can carry the loaf of bread over the branch to where you are. And if you keep it above the branch the whole time, you will never carry it from Rishus Rabim into Rishus Yachid. It's not Rishus Rabim. You'll carry it from Rishus Yachid to a karmelis, which is not only Yisur Rabbanan. Answers the Gemara. Kishavabim mekasin ola v'chud ola d'oma ola omo tisha v'shus rabim v'abim mekasin ola v'zoak v'nochal gabov chayav. Ola, if we had it actually in Shabbos, a normal bollard in the Rishus Harabim is a karmelis, right? A post is a karmelis. Why is it a karmelis? If it would be less than 3 tefachim high, it's Rishus Rabim. Does anybody remember why it's less than 3 tefachim high? It's Rishus Rabim. Very good. Oh. Less than 3 tefachim high, let's say you've got a pavement and it's got a bump in the pavement, less than 3 tefachim high, nobody bothers to move around it because it's less than 3 tefachim high. More than 10 tefachim high, what does it become? Between 3 and 10, it's a karmelis because most public people will avoid it. If you were to see a bollard, you will not walk over it. On the other hand, it's not Rishus Yachid because it's not private domain. Says Ula that if it is at a very convenient height, 9 tefachim, everybody uses it to put the bags, to load. It's like benches which you have at the side of the road, which are very useful. And therefore it becomes a Rishus Harabim. And therefore this branch is a Rishus Harabim all the way along. So therefore it goes up Rishus Yachid and then goes down a bit into Rishus Harabim. So therefore you can't move your Eruv, and therefore it's no good. Okay. So the more found that you came to where you can't move your Eruv from Rishus Yachid to Rishus Harabim, and that's what the Mishnah is talking about. Now, we mentioned before Machlekes Rebbe and Rabbanon as to whether you're allowed to make an Eruv in the situation where in the being accessing the Eruv, you're going to be over at Issa D'Rabbanan. Says the Gemara, my Rebbe, my Rabbanan. Where do we see this machlok? So Tanya, Nosle bin on the Malama Sod Tvachim, had intent Tvachim, Ein Eruv Eruv. It's not an Eruv. And Rashi says that here we're discussing the exact case. That means we're talking about a case where the tree is more than 4 amos wide, because otherwise you've got the problem of rubber. And we're discussing a case where the branch is used by the public, and therefore it's a Rishus Rabbim, and you put it just above it until Rishus Yochid, therefore it's no good. The matter Ma'asot Tvachim Eruv Eruv also little. If it's lower than 10 Tvachim, it's an Eruv, you won't be able to take it. And this is a very important point. Even though Rebbe holds that Ben Hashmosh is allowed to use a tree, he agrees that on Shabbos you're not allowed to. So if you put a loaf of bread on a tree less than 10 Tvachim high, is the Eruv good according to Rebbe? The Eruv is good according to Rebbe. Why? Because Ben Hashmoshes, you could have got it. But let's say you walk your 2,000 amos and you see the loaf of bread on your tree and you think, wow, I'm hungry, let me eat it. You won't be able to eat it. So less than 10 Tvachim, Eruv was little. Less than 3 mutter little, you're allowed to take it. If you put it in a basket, so that's picture. Let's get it. Sorry, it's picture. Reish Chof Beis or Reish Chof Gimel. Actually, if you put it in a basket, it is okay. We'll discuss at great length why the basket makes a difference. We'll leave that for the moment. The Chachamim say if you can't access it, it's not an Eruv. Shittas Chachamim is that anyway, if you put an Eruv on a tree trunk, have you got Eruv Tchumen? No, because since you can't get it, you don't have your Eruv. Okay. Says the Gemara, which case were they talking about? If they're talking about the basket, do they hold that studying also? That something hanging from a tree is also we paskin that studying is mutter. I tell you where he came after winter. One Shabbos afternoon when he stopped me. What happened was he has a washing line which is attached to a peg on the tree, and the washing line was stretched from that peg which was attached to the tree all the way to his house, and on it there were things he wanted to take off, not washing, other things. He wanted to, is he allowed to take it? Mutter also. What's the din? What's it din?
How's it attached to the tree?
It's a washing line attached to a peg which is knocked into the tree. Nail.
It's not actually.
It's mutter. It's mutter. It's studded. No, clothes be also because of muktzah, wet washing, which was on Erev Shabbos, or something else. I don't know what it was actually. Okay, but usually washing we forbid us ma'asai. But the mice, it's mutter because it's studded. So you're allowed to take something off, right? If you've got a hammock, for example, hanging from a branch, you're not allowed to sit in the hammock. If you've got a hammock which is attached to a nail, you're allowed to on condition that your weight is not so much as to make the branch move when you sit in the hammock. Yeah, it's true. Okay. Yeah, you'd be okay. Yeah, swing would be okay if it is a okay. Kids in the mice. So the Gemara says, could that be? Of course, it's in the basket. It's okay. In the mass, if you say, "I wouldn't study a soil," we're talking about the ratio. It's a full stop over here. Over here, we had the machlokes Rebbe and Rabbanan. What's machlokes Rebbe and Rabbanan? If you've got it in the tree less than 10 tvachim high, according to Rebbe, you've got a good Eruv. Why? Because you could have taken it off on Erev Shabbos ben Hashmoshes, and therefore even if it's abundance mutter, going to the Chomim, it's no good. Now the Gemara is going to talk about the basket. Hayilom, this tree. What's the exact case of the tree that the basket helps? If the tree is less than 4 by 4 at the top of it, and therefore it makes no difference if you've got a basket or not, you should be allowed to put your Eruv there. Right? Look at Veish Chof Gimel. If you can see Veish Chof Gimel, you've got a tree trunk. If the top of the tree trunk is less than 4 by 4, everybody agrees that there's no problem taking the Eruv off because it's a Mokim P'tur. So the Gemara says, and if there's 4 by 4, that's a Rishus Yochid. Or if it's less than 10, it's a calmness. What do you gain by putting it in the basket? Reisha will talk about with a deed that's 4 by 4, and therefore it's a proper Mokim Hanocho, because it's got 4x4, and it makes a difference which height. Higher than 10 is a Shusayachid, lower than 10 is a Kamis, and it's okay. Safer the Lesbi Albo, it's not got 4x4. The Kalkolo Mashlim to the Albo, and the basket fills it to 4. It's up on the base. Let's look at the picture again. We're talking about with the tree trunk is a less than 4x4. The basket is on next to the top of the tree trunk. And if you add and combine the basket with the tree trunk together, you've got an area of 4x4 with the process called choikikin. Choikikin means we engrave. What's better word for engraving? We chisel. We picture in our minds as if you've chiseled out an area of 4x4, which is combined both from the tree trunk and from the basket. When did else did we have choikin gabiot? Zuzah. Zuzah was the main thing. Rabbi Savaloka, Mer Savaloka Yehuda. Savaloka Mer Damachikin Hashtim, and therefore it's okay. Savaloka Yehuda Damabin the name should Al Gabamokim Abobalek. Rabbi here the boss is important chiddush that in order for an Eruv to be good, it has to be put down on an important place. And let's say, for example, you decide to hang your Eruv on top of a lamppost because you don't want the dogs to get it. No good. It's no good. Why? A lamppost is not 4x4. It's very high. You can't call it on the Shusay Yachid because it's not on the floor. And you can't say you put it in a choshva place because the lamppost is not 4x4. So what would you want to do if you ever wanted to put an Eruv on top of a lamppost? What would you do? Hang a basket there, and then make sure the basket is 4x4 together with the lamppost, and then throw the Eruv into there, and then you'd be okay. Now Rashi asks over here a complicated question which all the Rishonim discuss. Looking back at the picture of Reish Gimel, asks Rashi that if the basket together with the bread with the tree is 4x4, then what is it? So Shusayachit. And you're trying to get it from there into where you are Koine Shvisa, which is at the bottom, which is a Shusarabim. Rashi, Shusayachit to Shusarabim, one's not allowed to carry. Answers Rashi, and here's important pictures, Reish Chavtalet, a complicated picture. Rashi holds, not all the Rishonim agree with him. If you've got a picture of Reish Chavtalet, it's very important to see it. I'll just wait until it's uploaded. Rashi holds that you do not have an area which is 4x4 and 10 tefachim high, is not considered a Shusayachit unless at the base of it, it has got a thickness of 4x4. So therefore, according to Rashi, this boat, according to Rashi, would the boat be Rosh Hashanah or not? Very good. Rashi says those boats are not Rosh Hashanah because at the bottom there's no 4 tvachim. Says Rashi, the same thing over here. That over here we're talking about that together with the basket it's 4x4, but at the base of the tree there's no 4x4. So therefore it's not a Rosh Hashanah, and therefore you're allowed to carry from it into a Rosh Hashanah. Rashi builds it. Rashi is very marich about this point. We'll come to it more in the next picture. Okay. So therefore Rashi says it's not a Rosh Hashanah, and therefore you're allowed to carry. Says well, my Rabbi Yehuda, where did Rabbi Yehuda tell us this halacha? That if you throw your Eiruvin on top of a lamppost, which is not 4x4, you're not it's the Tanya of Yehuda. Let's can you upload picture of Reish Chof Hey, Reish Chof Vav? We'll see. Oh, what's Rabbi Yehuda saying? No, it's clear. If it's 4x4 and 10 high, it's Eiruvin. More than haven't understood if it's not 10 tefachim high. If it's less than 10 tefachim high, so it's literally in the same area. You're in your Shusayachit. If it's less than 10, of course, it's okay. If it's 10 tefachim high, so again, if it is less than 10 tefachim high, so it does need to be 4x4. If you put it on a bollard, and let's say, for example, sometimes you've got these like little posts by the side, especially by corners. They don't want cars to drive onto the pavements. They put bollards there. If you put your Eivtchum in there, that's fine. Why? Oh, it's not 4x4. The answer is it's not 10 tefachim high. So therefore, it's considered in a Rishus Harabim or in Shusach, it's considered in a proper domain, and therefore it's okay. The problem is when you throw it on top of a lamppost and there it's not 4x4, then it's nowhere. It's as high in the sky, it's no good. So therefore, that's no good. Says the word Keman. What does it mean, Keman? Oh, Rashi says, Keman, who taught us this halacha, that if at the bottom it's not 4x4, then even if at the top it's 4x4, it's not to Rishus HaYochid. The Tana B'Yis B'Yoda Omer. No, it's called Rishus HaYochid. This is picture Reish Chavov. You've got somebody that has a lamppost, and on top of the lamppost, you put a basket. And then you threw something and it landed in the basket. I would have put the basket the other way around, but okay, it's hard to throw things in. So kids say you throw something into the basket. Chayav, you're chayav. Why are you chayav? Why is it obvious for you to say you're chayav? Imagine you've got a lamppost there in your road, and on top of it there's a basket, and you throw something in. You're chayav. Why chayav? Now, where's the Rishus HaYochid? Because it's 4x4 and 10 tefachim high. At the base of it, is it 4x4? Rashi told us a few minutes ago. Oh, says the it's not like B'Yis Yehuda. Always B'Yis Yehuda. It doesn't hold of that shit. B'Yis Yehuda holds that even after the base is not 4x4. No, Rashi holds that the svor is according to B'Yis Yehuda. We look as if there's invisible walls going down from the basket. Good achis. And therefore the basket, and therefore you've got 4x4. I wonder, you're right. No. The base basket is 4x4, and then the walls of the basket go down all the way to the floor, as if, because good achis. No, but the base of the ground. Rashi holds that ship. Did you see the picture of the ship? Rashi holds that. It is Rashi considers, of course, it's on the ground because the problem is at the bottom is not 4x4. So Rashi says that this of B'Yis Yehuda is disagreeing, and this of B'Yis Yehuda holds that even if there's no 4x4 at the bottom, as long as it's 4x4 on top, that's considered Rishus HaYochid. Yeah, even, for this we would say even by 1 10 tefachim, because we're not discussing again Mechitza, we're discussing to make it to Rishus HaYochid. That's enough. So what's that? B'Yis Yehuda, yeah. Afilu Timas going to say B'Yis Yehuda. Hossam had on mechitzos. The mechitza is surrounded. Hochale had on mechitzos. The Gemara says over here it's worse. Compare picture Reish Chav Gimel to Reish Chav Vav. That Reish Chav Vav, the mechitzas on a circular around the post in the middle. In Reish Chav Gimel, the basket is only on one side. So therefore, you cannot say that the wall is going down all around it to make it a proper mechitza. When you've got a 4x4 on top, where it's a proper on all 4 sides, it's got an area of 4x4. So therefore, you will look as if the mechitzas go down. But I understand that even with that branch, it's still not 4x4. You need the basket to make it 4x4. Because if the branch would be 4x4, maybe I'm not sure why the. We're talking about when there's no 4x4 even with the branches. You need the basket to make it 4x4. Right. So therefore the point is like this, that the way we explain this is that by good achis by itself, that would be okay. That means in the case of Reish Chav Vav, where you've got the picture, we've got the basket, all you need is good achis, that's okay. In Reish Chav Gimel, the only way you get an area of 4x4 is you first have to do chokikin to combine the basket to the tree, and then after that to say good achis. And that we don't hold of, to combine 2 pieces of logic together to do chokin and then to make good achis, that we don't do, and that we got no right. Okay. Says the Gemara like this. Rav Yoma is trying to explain why is it that if you put the Eruv in a basket, it's okay. Why is it okay if you put the Eruv in a basket? Before we said like this, if you put the Eruv on the tree higher than 10 tefachim, it's no good. Why is it no good? Because that's Rishus HaYochid, and this is Rishus HaRabim. But if you put the Eruv in the basket and 10 tefachim, it's okay. It says, well, what's this for? You can tilt it. And since you can tilt it, therefore, it's considered not a problem of carrying. This is an interesting svor. We had it a little bit at the beginning of Shabbos, where if you've got an item which is very long, let's say, for example, you've got a scarf, and you're sitting on your roof, and your roof is Rishus HaYochid, and out of your roof is M62, it's Rishus HaRabim, and you drop your scarf, half of it is staying on the roof, and half of it is going into the Rishus HaRabim. Have you carried from Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaRabim? No. Very good. How do you remember? Why not? Why is it not called carrying? because some of it is still in your rishus. Is that, remember, like, let's clarify it again with what the Mishmor talks about. The Torah school, that's what Mishmor talks about. There's a whole simon of Mishnah about that. You're relating from the Sefer Torah, and when you leave go, as such a terrible thing, and then it rolls down into a Shusarabim, you can then take it back in. You're allowed to take it back in. Why allowed to take it back in? Because you're still in the Rishus HaYachid. Today I went to a Sefer to see if I could find a good Sefer to Lechas Eiruvin. And it wasn't very good. So maybe one day one of you can write it. And one of the things he's had there was Tzvi Kern. I didn't buy it there, but he said that he had a whole sim about the Sefer Torah. That's not on the Gal Maisa. It doesn't talk about it. I wanted a practical Sefer. He just goes through the Musagim. Again, the Imam's got a whole sim of pictures of this Sefer Torah rolling, and I hope that doesn't happen. Again, it doesn't happen often. Okay, but it still doesn't happen often. The scarf would be more likely case. Anyway, so again,
What we had about the ring, you're allowed to turn it over to see if Torah rolls.
yes, that's right. That's even in a case where it goes properly. So again, the Gemara says like this: Said of Yumi logic as follows. Imagine this is the tree, this is the basket in the tree, and it's higher than 10 tefachim. So what do I care? The basket can be tilted lower than 10 tefachim, and then I'll take it. So it doesn't matter if it's higher than 10 tefachim. That's the advantage of using a basket. Yosef Papa Papa repeated over Abimir's answer. This is a brisa which is discussing what to do. It's actually a Mishnah, but we're discussing what to do if you want to make an Eruv for 2 days. So let's say, for example, you've got Fridays Yom Tov, then Shabbos is Shabbos, or you've got Shabbos, then Sundays Yom Tov. You've got 2 days on to Eruv. And even if you wanted to the same place, you've got a problem. Anybody think what the problem would be? Okay, it's a very technical problem. Is you put the Eruv there before Shabbos or before Yom Tov, so you can carry the first day. But how do you know the second day that the Eruv is still going to be there? You can't know. You can't know it's going to be there.
I know the first day either.
Yes, you can. You can wait there till the Hashmashas and make sure it's there. The second day, you can't know unless you go back. So what should you do? You take it on the first day, that says the Friday, which is Yom Tov, and you wait till Nacht. It's Yom Tov. You take it back home, because once it's Ben Hashmashas, it's finished with Hashmashas, you can take the Eruv Tchumen back home with you. On the second day, which is Yom Tov, just before Shabbos, again, we're talking about Fridays, Yom Tov, Shabbos, and Shabbos. So Thursday evening, you walk with your Eruv Tchumen all the way, and you stand by the Tchum, and then you walk home, and you've done your Kiddush Shvi, so you walk home, and then you can walk for that. Friday afternoon, it's Yom Tov, still allowed to carry. You walk all the way to the end of the Tchum. You wait for Nacht, and then you're already allowed to eat it, because you don't need the Eruv Tchumen anymore, because you've already been Yotzi Eruv Tchumen, you've got no more days of Yom Tov. Or you come home. Says the Gemara, Amai, why do you have to take it? This is a very strange Gemara. Every Rishon gets upset with this Gemara. What did we just say like this? Let's get it very clear. It's a very big chiddush. You've got a tree. The tree is higher than 10 tefachim, which is Rosh Hashanah. You're standing in Shusarabim. Said the Gemara, if it's in a basket, it's okay. Why is it okay if it's in a basket? Because Bein Hashmashos, you could have tilted it and taken it. Lemaisa, you didn't. You weren't even there, Bein Hashmashos. But we say, since there was potential for you to be able to access the Eruv, it's good enough. If that's the case, well, why bother walking with the Eruv Tchumen all the way to the end of 2,000 Amos? Since you had potential to walk in 2,000 Amos, just stay at home, and that should be good enough. Asks Rashi, if that's the kasha of the Gemara, so the Gemara could have brought the whole of Eruv Tchumen should be finished. Why do you ever need to go to Eruv Tchumen? Always stay at home and just say, I have the potential to do Eruv Tchumen. Just like I had the potential to tip the basket. Say the same thing over here. What? But there you also have Kiddush. It's 11 tefachim high. You can't get to it. The answer is because you had a possibility of tilting the basket, but you never tilted the basket.
Yeah, but you did something to show.
But you Kiddush Shvis is the wrong place. You were trying to Kiddush Shvis in the Shusay Yachid, and the mice, and you put the bread 11 tefachim high. So asks Rashi. So Rashi says, "But the Gemara was asking on all halachas Eiruvin Tchumen." Only the Gemara wants to quote this Mishnah because in this Mishnah it says explicitly the words "walk to the end of the Tchum," and the Gemara is saying, "Why bother walk to the end of the Tchum?" Since you could have walked with it, it's as if you walked with it. The reason you have to walk is like this. Imagine you want to do an Eruv for Yom Tov, which is a Sunday. Now, do you have the ability on Shabbos afternoon to walk 2,000 amos? No, why not? Because carrying. So therefore, the only way to do it is to actually go there and do it. Since not always is it possible to have the potential to do it, so Chazal said you always have to go and do it. And if it's not good enough, just that because in theory you could have possibly done it. Let's just summarize. The Gemara said to us as follows, because this we're going to carry on from tomorrow, and tomorrow it's a short daf. We have not such a short daf, we've got a very short time, so I want to jump straight into it. And that is like this. The Gemara says if you've got a tree which is more than 10 tefachim, you shouldn't really be allowed to do an Eruv there. It says, well, if you've got a basket, came along a Yomi and says with a basket it's okay. Why did the Yomi say the basket? Because you could have tilted. Anyway, if you could tilt it, so why should you ever have to carry? Answer is well there because of Yom Tov after Shabbos. The Gemara is going to continue with this question. Do we say that something that could be tilted, something that could be done, it's as if you've done it and therefore you've been Yotze Yorei Tchum. Okay, so we're finishing nice and early. So tomorrow we're going to get to Lamed Hey Amud Aleph. 8, no, more than 8 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Yes, that's right. I haven't seen the Gemara inside. I assume that we finished. Yes.
One sec.
What? Tomorrow, Moshe, can I take it back with me? Stop live.